going on, everyone? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Attacker Productions. Today, I'm Bancroft. As you can see, be joined by Jake.
What's going on, y'all?
And today, we got a deck profile. We had a lot going on this past weekend. We had 3 games. I recorded 2 profiles afterwards. Jake had to leave. It was sad. It was raining. It was cold. We saw him walk away.
It was cold. I don't think it was raining.
It wasn't raining. But Jake's bringing us Bardock's Crew. Super excited about it. So, Jake, take it away.
All right. So, Bardock's Crew is a deck that I think has just kind of been overlooked throughout Zenkai, and especially if you're playing like the Zenkai only format or like the pseudo Zenkai only format. I think this is a deck that's really worth looking at. It's got a lot of search capabilities, a lot of card draw, and just a lot of pressure overall. I don't think it's as much pressure as something like Red Sin, but there's a lot of options in here to apply some good pressure. So starting off, we're just going to talk about the 8-drop. This Bardock Inherited Might is really good against blue and not super great against other colors. You can really get like quintuple attack with it if you have the correct Bardock's Crew in the drop area, but it does have Revenge, so maybe you want to leave it up for some blocking, especially if your opponent has a lot of barrier battle cards attacking you. Revenge will get through that, and that's like a tool that yellow typically doesn't have access to. Like Revenge is typically like in green and sometimes in red, like a few Bulma cards had Revenge. But overall, I think this card is really good if it gets out, but where it doesn't have barrier or a lot of like protection outside of deflect, I think its home is really in control matchups, and outside of that, you're just charging this thing. Next, we've got Borgo's Feelings Bequeathed. I think this could honestly be a yellow staple going forward. It's kind of got like a charismatic villain effect where the counterplay ability is just play this card, and then you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 7 or less and switch it to rest mode. So it's not quite as potent as charismatic, and it costs energy, but overall I think it kind of like fills that slot somewhat in like a yellow deck. And then of course, something we didn't really talk about is that the awakening condition on this Bardock's Crew requires you to have 4 different named Bardock's Crews in your energy, Z energy, drop, or battle area. So basically like face-up areas that aren't removed from game or warp. So this will also help you reach that requirement. Then we have Fascia. This is probably one of the best cards in the deck. Really all you do with this is discard it and look at the top 5 and grab a Bardock's Crew or a 2-drop yellow Unison. In the Red Gogeta matchup, this will help you go find your Unison of Fury that you bring in out of the sideboard, which is really solid against that deck. Solid against a lot of red decks in general, actually, Unison of Fury. But Fascia mainly just thins your deck and then immediately goes to the drop area. And then it adds to your requirement for Awakening. And then once you're awakened, when you swing once per turn, you can combo with a Bardock's Crew with 5k combo power. So this just gets discarded, deck thins, and then you swing and get free 5k combo out of it, and then it goes to the Z energy where you can use it later. So just overall sick card. Then next we have Tora. I really don't know how to feel about this card overall. It is nice to be able to just pay 1 and negate something and then draw a card off your leader effect. But mostly this card just kind of gets charged. The other Tora is just so superior that this one just kind of gets relegated to the energy to meet your awakening requirement. And then this one, like the Borgos, as long as you've met your awakening requirement, they come out as 10Ks. So that might be relevant depending on what stage the game is in. But overall, I think this is a card you might want to be looking to replace in your list or cut down to 1 copy. I just wasn't comfortable playing that few Bardock's Crews, so ultimately this is just like something I plan on charging. And then next we've got Bardock Crew Leader. I actually run 4 of these. I don't know why this is 3. Basically, this guy is just like the Fascia, but you actually have to pay energy for it, and it comes into play. But the upside of that is that that'll trigger your leader effect, where once per turn when you play a Bardock Screw, you draw a card. So you can stack your autos in a way to where you look at the top 5, pick a card, and then draw, or you can draw and then look at the top 5, depending on how your leader is working. Just a really solid searcher, 10k battler if you've met the awakening requirement, a good combo fodder, just like a really key piece to the deck. Then we have Shugesh, Feelings Bequeathed. This is probably one of the best 1-drops, if not the best 1-drop, and really all it does is draw cards. But combined with our leader effect and other effects in the deck, this card could go from a draw 1 to a draw 2 to a draw 3, depending on how the game is positioned. So overall, just a really solid 1-drop to have. And then just kind of like a big beater, where you have a Bardock in the deck that will let us play apes from the deck for free. So this Fascia and those cards come in with their skills negated. So this Fascia just ends up being a big dumb 30k to swing at your opponent's battle cards or your opponent's life with. And then outside of that, we're just going to charge or combo this thing off to help meet our awakening requirement. For a super combo, we play the Beerus Motivated Destruction. I've seen a lot of Bardock lists playing Krillin, but where you awaken at 6, there's a chance you're stuck for a few turns without being able to use those Krillins. And then this Beerus, it'll flip the top card of your deck, and then almost always in our list, you're going to get the -5 on the attacking card. But that can create some really awkward math defensively. And then offensively, if you're like, one thing I really like to use this against is Turtle School. If their battle cards end up in rest mode, you can just pop them with this because they can't be KO'd usually. But this is a good way to like minus those out in yellow.
Why call that deck out?
I mean, that's really one of the better uses I've seen of this.
Okay.
I've played out of my 10 or so games up with this deck so far, I think 3 of them have been against Turtle School. So it's made up a good portion of my testing so far.
I was just curious because we played that over the weekend, so.
Yeah, we did. I don't think that interaction came up in our game.
No, but not against the small ones.
No, not against the small bees. For one of the better Great Apes in the deck, we have Great Ape Tora. Basically, you can play this on either turn after comboing as long as your leader's on the backside. And then you can draw a card from that. It also blocks. And if it's in rest mode, your opponent can't attack your leader card with battle cards, I think, unless they kill this first. So it's kind of like a weird Deadly Defender. This is another good one to grab off of your Bardock effect, which we haven't really looked at or talked about yet. And just leave it in active mode, so when its skills come back on your opponent's turn, you can block with it. And then combined with some other cards in the deck, there's a lot of tricks we can do to kind of get a lot of use out of this guy. So overall, really solid card in the deck. Then we have Shugesh. Shugesh is actually the ape I'm least impressed with. It does KO an opponent's battle card in rest mode when it comes in, and it does have double strike. But the other apes just have like more impactful effects, in my opinion. And then since the 1-drop Shugesh is so strong, we don't want to like overdose on that character name as far as like awakening and chucking it under the 8-drop goes. So I think cutting this to 2 was actually one of my more like bold decisions as far as building the deck, but I think I stand by it. There are other versions of this deck where they like don't run things like Turles with spoilers. And I think in those lists it might be more correct to run more of these, but overall I'm happy with 2 so far. And then we play 4 of the Borgos. This one is a dual attacker, and then it will switch an opponent's battle card to rest mode when it comes in. Synergizes really well with our leader effect, where we can switch one of our battle cards to rest mode and KO an opponent's battle card in rest mode. So pay 1, play this guy. Leader effect, switch this guy to rest. This guy also has an auto where if it's switched to rest by one of your skills, it comes back to active. So you'll get to KO the card basically for free, and then you'll get to dual attack after that, which is why I think Shugesh isn't as strong, because of the leader effect having free KOs on battle cards in rest mode without barrier anyway. And then this is the Bardock we were talking about before, grade A Bardock Saiyan potential. This one has a auto where you can pay 1 and play it out. You'll also have to choose a card in your hand and send it to the bottom of your deck and then draw a card. And then on limit 1, it's got an activate main where you can pay 1 and search through the deck and get 2 apes with different names with, I think, energy costs of 3 or less and play them out. This creates like a really big counter window, so if your opponent has something like Focused Breakthrough or like a God Sealing, your cards coming in are probably just going to get screwed. But in either scenario, you at least got to draw an additional card, even if you didn't like gain card advantage, and then you'll still keep the 20k. I mean, if they God Seal this, you just don't pay the extra energy and you only spend 1. So I really like the way this card is designed. It's versatile. It triggers your leader effect. It draws a card on its own. I mean, granted, it doesn't generate card advantage, but overall, just another solid piece for this deck. Secret Rare, we run Pan. I see a lot of people running the Gohan and Piccolo super combo, and I would probably run that if I had access to it. I would at least test it out. But I've been pretty happy with Pan overall. She does get hit by a lot of counterplays that are going around right now, but outside of that, just an overall excellent Secret Rare, and it's been good for a long time. Really my preferred Secret Rare, honestly. Hidden Power Kai, just for double striking. One thing to be aware of is that when you play your apes off of this, they'll have their skills negated for the turn. So you can't give them double strike later for this, because it'll just go away because of the way that interaction works. So better to hold on to this until like turn 4 or 5 after you've deployed these and they get their skills back. Then you can swing for a big 40k double strike Fasha or something. Rerun 1 Dark Broly. I think we've talked a lot about this card on the channel. I'm just like a big fan of it overall. The only downside is it doesn't really have combo power, but we have so much combo power in the list that we don't really worry about that. And we play 2 Turles all too easy. The modular nature of this card, being able to pop 2 battle cards in rest mode or pop a card, draw a card, really makes it a little bit better than Shugesh to me. It's still a 0-5 combo, so it's not going to get stuck on the hand. It's not as good in the energy as Shugesh because of our Awakening and all that other good stuff. But I do think 2 of this card is correct, and there are some matchups where we take this out of the deck and bring in a little piece out of the sideboard. We'll talk about that. And then lastly, we have 1 Swift Retaliation Cooler in the main. I think every yellow deck should be playing this at least a 1 of. Even if you don't plan on like killing your opponent with like a big battle card swing or something, just being able to stop a counterplay or anything is really nice.
I will say a correctly timed counterplay, or sorry, counter is fantastic.
Yeah, it can just end games. For Unison cards, we play just 1, and that's Gine. This card is really solid in this deck and really not good in any other deck, I feel like. And also in a lot of matchups, this card can just come out for Unison of Fury. The main reason it exists is that when you play it, it plays a 1-drop Bardock Screw from your hand and then switches it to rest mode, which automatically procs its +1, where if one of your battle cards is switched to rest mode by one of your skills, you +1 and draw a card. So immediately, like we were talking about before, on turn 2, you can pay 2 and cast this, and you'll get a Shugesh. You'll draw a card from this, a card from Shugesh, and a card from your leader effect.
Yeah, that's why I disagree with that card being a 15k, but we're not talking about that. We're just talking about your deck.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a 15k is really solid too, because it applies additional pressure, which, if you haven't guessed by now, this deck kind of wants to go in a straight line, which is at your opponent's life. You could do a little bit of Unison attacking, but you mostly just want to attack your opponent's life and then use your card effects to kill battle cards if you have to. On the -3, you get to play a 4-drop Bardock or less from your hand. This is really good for playing the one from earlier because it turns that 2-cost 3 apes into a 1-cost 3 apes. And a good way to utilize this card is to swing with it first and check for any floodgates. And if your opponent floodgates, just use the +1 effect and draw a card and sit back, which is one thing I think is really good about this Unison. And extra cards, really quick. 2 Final Flash, 1 Pause, 2 Freeze's Army Reinforcements, and 2 Full Moon. After playing this weekend, I think I may be a little bit light on negates. I think this Freeze's Army Reinforcement can maybe come up to 3. But one card I do want to talk about is Full Moon. Being able to activate this card for free and get plus 10k on any of your yellow cards and then switch a Great Ape to active mode is just huge. Especially since you have Great Apes with blocker in this list, you can block, activate Full Moon for free, survive the battle, and switch back to active mode for a second block, which catches a lot of opponents off guard. Or you can Full Moon and restand an ape that doesn't have blocker and then combo it off just to get your leader a little bit higher up. And that's good against blue decks that play cards like Cell, where maybe they swing a little bit before they play the Cell and soak up your battle cards. Well, you can activate Full Moon on their leader swing, restand an ape, and then combo it off just to keep it from getting under Cell, and then maybe Cell can't get the triple strike. For the Z deck, we play 2 of the Evolved Defender. I haven't really casted this yet, but I do like this card overall. I think this card's more at home in decks like the Goku Ape or Trunks Vegeta. But on this deck on turn 3, we want to spend our energy on like multiple small energy plays rather than tapping all the way out for one big play like this. And we also play the Z Leader, of course. This Activate Battle ends up being kind of awkward to utilize, but overall I do like the just being able to get free double strike on your lead. We play a couple of Oolongs, just being able to copy a big 30k. We play the Foshas and we play the Broly, just another 1 energy play that lets us drop another potential 30k on the board. This SSB Vegeta probably doesn't get played much in this deck because we don't really care about getting stuck on life, but it's there just in case we need it. And then one of this Gohan facing new foes. This hasn't really been cast yet either, but I can see situations where you're completely out of cards in hand and your opponent has 1 or maybe 2 life left, and this just gets you there. Side deck. 4 Unison of Fury. This is just for Gogeta and Red. Plus, a lot of our cards will switch back to active mode after we utilize the Activate main to switch it to rest, since it's one of our skills. The battle card will come right back to active, and then Vegeta will get his free marker, and then we can use this Vegeta for pressure, which is normally something he can't do, because normally this card switches itself to rest mode to get the marker, and then immediately -1s it away. 2 Black Kamehameha, 1 extra Borgos. This is mostly for Red Sin and then green decks mostly. The thing about Red Sin is you have to wait for them to minus their card away and then play this on the second instance of the card, like if it's ice or something like that. Extra negate. Broken Seal, again for red. 2 Fatal Rampage. These come in against Red Sin because they do play Violent Rays, but they don't play a lot of Unisons, which means that Yamcha isn't on the table. So this card will get to come down, activate main, and go up to a 19k, and then it can't be killed for free on your opponent's next turn with the leader effect. And it gets underneath Violent Rays because it's a 19k. So in that matchup, I think Turles comes out and these come in. 1 Swift Retaliation Cooler for blue. 1 extra Bardock for blue. And then 2 Flying Nimbus. There's just a lot of aggro battle card decks right now. Overall, one thing you might notice about the list is that there's no robotic riposte anywhere, even in the sideboard, even though I have access to the card. I just don't think it's the right fit for Bardock specifically.
You have a way of being very protective about it as well, so.
Yeah, 2 Final Flash, 2 Full Moon, you got a lot of ways to survive.
And before we close out, I just want to point out that it annoys me when I have to think this way, but at least half of your sideboard is set to go up against red.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in a red matchup, like if you go up against Gogeta, you're probably bringing in 4, 6, 7, maybe 8 or 9 cards altogether.
Yeah.
Whereas blue, I just bring in 2 cards.
Yeah, it's just interesting where the meta kind of shifted where you have to do that. But overall, fantastic profile. Thanks, Jake. And keep in mind, hope you all enjoyed this button sample. Feel free to click them to death reason. And since we're on Discord, Jake, lead us out.
Remember to read your cards and know your plays. Remember to test out decks that you don't think are good, because I ended up really falling in love with this deck. And let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, like playing bad decks. Fluff out.